Hi guys, it's Laurel, and today I'm continuing my one tiny house per pack challenge, which is a challenge I made up for myself to help me build using packs that I kind of ignore sometimes, or using items that I ignore sometimes. So what I do is essentially choose a pack from the game and design a tiny house that uses just the base game and that pack. Today's build is using Get Together. And while Get Together is one of the older packs, it's still one of my favorites. I really love to play in Windenburg. I think that the group feature can be really helpful. And more than anything, I just actually like the build items. I'm of course building in the Tudor style because that's kind of what the pack lends itself to and what matches the rest of the buildings in the world. But I also just like building these Tudor style homes. I really like the half timbering element of Tudor houses, which is that pattern wood paneling that you see on the upper floor. I think that those different designs just helps you make a unique looking build without a lot of effort because it immediately has all these different things in it and it all matches. So it's not like I have to try and mix and match different build elements to make them all go together. They just do. You can see me now outlining some flower beds using this white fence. I also end up fencing off a bit of a side yard that I'll be decorating more at the end of the video. Since this lot is pretty much in the middle of town, I wanted to make sure that there was some separation and privacy for the family living here. At this point, I swapped the lot type to be a tiny house residential to double check that I was within the requirement, and I realized I already had enough tiles to be in the biggest range of tiny houses. So I figured I might as well use some more and give these Sims some space. I did swap the lot type back over to regular residential before uploading it to the gallery though, so even if you don't have tiny living, you'll be able to find and download this house. If you do have that pack though, you could definitely turn the lot type back on to get those tiny house perks. For the actual plants and landscaping, I used a mix of plants from the regular catalog and from the debug menu. The wall ivy you see is from that debug menu, and it's really ended up being helpful because this ended up being one of those builds where the window placement looks super weird from the outside. There were several walls that had no windows at all, and this ivy just helped break it up a little bit. You gotta love plants for covering up the parts of your build that you just don't like. Overall, my goal for this build was to fit everything you would need for family gameplay into a pretty small space. When I build tiny houses, I often fall into the trap of just building one bedroom and one bathroom, which actually isn't that difficult to fit into the space. But I wanted to challenge myself a bit more this time around. The first part of that challenge was choosing to make this a two-story house because staircases are my nemesis even on a good day. I will be feeling super confident about a build, the floor plan will be going smoothly, and then as soon as I try to fit that staircase in, I ruin everything and I can't find a space where it fits without looking awkward. In a tiny house, it's an even bigger problem because a staircase just eats up so many tiles that it kind of feels like a waste of space. I was able to pull it off this time, however, and I actually like how it turned out. I think this house would look a lot more boring from the outside if it was just one floor. I like how the two different stories allowed for me to have the different wall patterns. I also liked how the floor plan went inside. Downstairs, I was able to fit in a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom, and upstairs has a landing, a kid's bedroom, and a primary bedroom with an ensuite bathroom attached. I kept the decor in the kitchen and bathroom fairly simple. I chose to go with a pretty warm color scheme and the darker wood tones. I think it matches the older Tudor style and also makes it feel nice and cozy, which is perfect for a family home. It wasn't until I got to the living room that I really determined my concept for this house. I realized pretty quickly there was no way to furnish this living room without it feeling a little bit crowded. Like the couch is hanging into the entryway instead of being fully against the wall. But then I kind of decided to lean into that. This house is set up for a 4-sim family to be living in less than 100 tiles. Of course, it's going to get a little bit snug. If anything, I felt that it made it feel more comfortable and lived in. It's way more realistic, in my opinion, to have a slightly crowded home than one that's pristine and perfectly organized. So that's why I didn't stop with just a living room, but I also put the desk and office in the corner of it, and then I threw in an easel because there was one empty wall, and that just didn't fit with the rest of the space. I added a bit of decor and a bookcase in the front entryway to keep up with that cluttered theme, and then it was time to head upstairs. The only real problem area in the build ended up being the landing at the top of the stairs. It was a little bit too small to do much of anything practical with, but just too big to leave as an empty hallway without making it stick out as an empty room. The main problem was that most of the floor space would interfere with the doors opening and closing, so I was really limited on what furniture I could add here. In the end, I chose to put the bonsai bush so there was at least some kind of skill building item available, but other than that, I decided just a bit of decor would be enough. In the kids' room, I knew I wanted to include a bunk bed because it would be pretty much the only way to have 2 children in this household and still have room for some kids' items for them to play with. I really liked how these two swatches of this bunk bed have the same turquoise and hot pink colors, but with different patterns. It looks like their parents let each kid pick out their own bedding as long as it matched. In the rest of the room, I tried to cram in as many toys as I could so that the kids would be able to play and work on their skills a bit. I also like the idea of putting different posters on each bunk as if the kids had different personalities, and so they hung them up on their own. So the bottom bunk got posters of musicians and the top bunk got some sports. Moving on to the parents' bedroom, I paired the dark woods I've been using throughout the house with the bright white and light blue colors of this bed. I think it makes for a very nice, relaxing bedroom color scheme. Overall, I think adult bedrooms are just so much more boring to decorate than children or teen rooms, especially when going for a more traditional design scheme like this one. There's only so many bed, end table, and dresser combos to make in this game. Speaking of dressers though, I actually didn't use one in this build. I used the closet item. I actually think this item is a bit ugly, but I figured that since closets were a major feature of Get Together, I might as well use them. In retrospect, it's really funny to me that closets were a major feature of this pack. Like, this was early on in the game. They hadn't even introduced toddlers yet, but they were like, we gotta get these people rabbit hole closets you can woohoo in. Whatever, who am I to judge their priorities? I did add a couple more skill building items and landscaping out to the backyard just so that they had some places for the kids to play and it looked a little bit more filled in and nice, but we're pretty much getting to the end of the build. This build is available on the gallery, so if you'd like it and would like for your Sims to live here, you definitely can download it. My gallery ID is a Laurel, just like my YouTube channel. If you like the video, please leave a like or a comment. You can tell me which pack you would like me to do a tiny house for next. And if you would like to see more speed builds, I post them every Monday, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel to see those. Have a great day. Bye.